sure more people will keep coming in.
Okay, sure.
So I checked your LinkedIn, and I'm fascinated.
It's complicated.
I was very okay. I definitely know one thing, which is you love remote work.
Exactly. Yes.
All right. So I got that right. Great. Great. Okay, then yes, I think you should go ahead and
Okay.
tell us a bit about yourself and all the incredible things you're doing. And do you sleep? Maybe tell us about your sleeping pattern. Do you sleep or just work with all this?
I sleep. Actually, that reminds me. Okay, so we were going to talk about like how to apply, how to win jobs. But actually, I just like remembered that I forgot something to add in my presentation, which I will be verbally mentioning, which is
Okay.
to balance, like balance your like social life with work life. And I will be giving my tips about that as well. And yes, I do sleep. I give lots of importance to sleep and disconnecting and enjoying life because like, can you let me share my screen?
Yes. Give me a sec. I think I
Screen
need to
sharing
make
is
you
disabled.
a host. Make co-host. Yes. I think
Okay.
you can now.
Okay. Now
Perfect.
let's see. Okay. So I like to call myself remote work culture curator, but as you can see from my LinkedIn, and I'll be sharing my link, so if anyone wants to follow, I do several different things at the same time. In total, I have more than 15 years of professional experience, and 10 of which is with remote work. And I'm still head of community at Vertisant, where I am managing around like 200 cloud engineers, a community of cloud engineers, which I named as Clouders. And that's like, it's my baby. And they are cloud engineers, and it's like a community where they exchange knowledge and also get certified in cloud technology. So if anyone's interested about that as well, I can just like, they can connect me afterwards, so I can help them about the steps, how they can get certified, add those credentials to their profile. I am a future of work expert. I have been in this field since 2012. I used to be the country representative for Upwork, which is now still one of the biggest freelancer platforms. And so I was doing events about remote work, about gig work economy, and doing future of work conferences. So that's how everything started. I am still, by the way, I'm a remote worker, like I'm a remote contracted IC independent contractor at Vertisant, but at the same time, I'm running two companies. One is Startist and the other one, actually three companies now. One is Startist, the other one is Happy Work Studio, and the third one, the newest one, is we just founded a company in Estonia with my co-founder, Lars, who is a Dutch guy, and it's called Vivel. And what Vivel is doing is we are getting together remote work communities and Web3 enthusiasts so that we are building this community around Turkey and positioning Turkey to be a potential place, location for Web3 people and also remote workers. We will be doing an event in May. And so if you are interested to learn more about it, I can just like, share the details about the event. It's going to be happening in Cappadocia, Adana, and Mersin in Turkey in May 2023. And so I'm a Liberations Culture Transformation practitioner, helping corporate companies also to revamp their processes, culture, values, purpose. And I'm a happiness and life coach, which is why happiness is really dear to my heart. So if you're not happy with what you're doing, then you're not in the right place. So it's always good to find that sweet spot in your life. So work doesn't feel like work, because people usually resonate work with something negative. Like for me, work is something that I enjoy doing. And it's not because I'm workaholic, or it's not because I'm not spending time with my kids, but I'm just like, harmonizing it together. So when you ask my kids, what I do, they say that I'm a happiness coach. That's the first thing that they say. Because they see me happy. So that's why, that's the first thing that they tell their friends, their the people around, that I do, because they see me happy when I'm working. So for them, work is something positive in my life. And that's really, I think, really important. And I think remote work has a lot to do with it, because I think like finding a rhythm and finding like what I like the most and what I can do the best has really helped this boost this happiness. Okay, so I'll be quickly going over this. Why are we talking about remote work? So what happened, to give you a bit background about why this is happening, why. So start with a why. I mean, Simon Sinek has made this into so much into our lives that and with a purpose too. Like, why do we talk about a lot about remote work? Because this is a time for change, and we are writing. So this is why I'm using photo. We are actually writing this change. So everyone in this room, you're part of the change. So you'll be the change agents in this era, and you'll be talking about this period when your kids are going to be grown-ups. Because this is the change. I mean, if we look at this picture, there's no difference between any of these people. Nothing unique, no personalization. Everyone's the same. It's only the output that people care about in lines. So if I just pick one person with a tweezer and just replace it with someone else, it wouldn't make any difference as long as they're producing the same output. And then it's kind of, what do you think when you compare this one with this one? Do you think, is it similar or?
I prefer the first one.
What do you think? You prefer the first one. Okay. Why? And why is that?
No, I'm just joking. No. I obviously, we could theoretically talk about open floor plans and office like this, but yes, I definitely prefer to be in an environment that makes me feel good.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And from the participants too, do you think that's this one and this one, when you compare both, are they different, same? What do you feel? Which one do you prefer? Let me see if we have anything in chat. Anyone? Any comments? Okay. Chat is disabled. Okay.
Is it?
So you can use Q&A. Let me see if I can enable it. No.
I think it is.
Do it.
It looks open. Host and panelists.
Okay. Anyway, I mean, you can use Q&A. Picture 2, you prefer. Much better workplace with diversity. Okay. The same. Definitely the second one. Okay. Most people, they prefer second one, more alive. Yes, it's more alive, but it's a colored photo. Maybe that's why. But they're actually, yes, they're the same. I mean, if you think about it, like here and here, yes, it's more flexible, looks more creative, with more personalization. See, there's these personal things like the giraffe, the photos, but it's still the same. I mean, people sitting in the lines, they're just side by side. And if we have the complete picture, we would see probably the manager sitting in their glass, the offices or the cubicles, and just it's the same thing. Because from Taylorism until now, everything has been the same, just changing the how the office looks like, but nothing else. You're just making people sit side by side, just keeping close monitoring, and it's just the experience is the same. And so yeah, the only experience is just yes, the work environment. So why did this change happen? Because then all of a sudden people realize with the internet, with digitalization, with be having the flexibility to be able to work from anywhere, they realize that we don't need an office. So everything can be done even if you don't have an office, even if you're traveling, because now we have our laptops, we have our computers in our hands. So a phone can be your office. And the office is not something that you need to get your job done. People all of a sudden realize that. But we were not there yet until the pandemic, because like I have been giving these talks, doing the events since 2012. And I mean, trust me, companies were inviting me to give motivational, inspirational talks to their employees, but not for like consultancy. It wasn't until when the pandemic started that people realized that this is something doable. Because one, and you will be seeing this, you will be experiencing this in companies if you start working remotely or in hybrid, there are still some managers, some top executives who lack trust. So they have trust issues. So that was number one reason why they did not want their employees to work remotely, because they didn't trust people. And is it about the people? No, it's about themselves. So whenever a manager tells me that they don't trust their employees, I'm just like asking them, do you trust yourself? Do you have trust issues? Because they have trust issues that they reflected on their employees and think that employees are not going to work. They tell me, how do I know if my team member is lying on the couch and not working, or lying on the couch and just like, doing the stuff? I say, you shouldn't care. As long as he delivers the outcome, you shouldn't care. So now this is how the office looks like. And most people, they either have home offices. Some companies also fund these. So they give extra budget for home office, building home offices. And now this is the new way of work. So it's not only about home office, or it's not only about the place where you're working from, but the way we do our jobs, the way that the work is done has changed fundamentally. So it's not only about the location. This is really important, because when I talk about the future of work, or just like remote work, people just like think about it as home office, working from home. No, it's not only about changing your location. Because what happened during the pandemic is that people just like carried what they were doing in the office to their houses, and they started doing it the same way. And now we have like this terminology called the Zoom fatigue or burnout. And why did that happen? Because they thought that this was only about changing the location, not how you would do the work. But it's more than that. So it's not only about the location, but it's about how you do your work. So when you consider working remotely, make sure that you are just like, having all these in your mind, because it's about the flexible location, yes, but it's also about flexible time. So if you are working at a remote company across time zones, you might have meetings that are outside your working hours, but at the same time, you will see asynchronous communication in those companies, because the thing is, you don't have to be present in the meetings that you don't really need to be like for a decision. So you can get more things done without even getting on a meeting. And the thing about this new way of work is actually having less meetings, and even like no meetings. So asynchronous communication is the key to remote work. So if you want to work remotely, make sure that you are familiar with asynchronous communication, which is using shared drives, shared documents, working on a document at the same time with different people, not at the same time, in the same location. So this new way of working is also about productivity, and by productivity, do you have any? So what do you think is productivity? When we talk about productivity, and you can again use the Q&A, what do you think is productive work? How do you call yourself productive? When do you feel productive?
It sounded like a straightforward question, but then when I tried to answer it in my head, it just got like, okay, what it is? And I'll say the second thing that came to my mind, because the first was like blank. There was nothing.
Yeah. Okay.
Then it's a feeling. It's for me, it's a feeling.
Okay.
I can't explain it exactly, but yes, like somehow I know when I've been productive.
Okay. And when are those times that you feel, I mean, if you can think about like for the last 1 month, do you remember a moment where you felt like most productive?
Yes, yes, I do.
So what do you remember what was different than the other times?
Probably it was that I got to a state of flow. So like
Okay.
I got like really focused in what I was doing, and it's just like you kind of forget to get up from your chair, even if your like smartwatch really beeps like all the time, like you're so
Okay.
focused in that. So I would say, yeah, for me that's the thing I remember right now.
This is great that you said this, because like I mean, this is a whole nother topic, but we are also talking about deep work, time boxing, time management tools when we are talking about remote work too. So, and we got some answers: efficiency, time management, undisturbed work, which is what you're mentioning as well, to accomplish the tasks or achieve the goals. The key to productivity is not to work more, but to work less and get more things done. This is productivity. So people confuse that. And when they were talking about their experience about remote work in corporate world, they were saying that, we are more productive. And I'm asking them, so how do you know that you were more productive? We get more things done. Okay, my second question then is, do you get more things done in less time? And when I ask that question, they blank out, because no, they work extra hours, they work, twice as much and get more outcome. That's not the right way. You should be getting more outcome with less time. So that is, and so efficiency is kind of right. Complete the tasks your job require without making yourself feeling ill or unhappy or burnout. Exactly. And that's why we are seeing so many people with burnout. Like all of the companies that I'm consulting right now, they're asking for consultancy about burnout, about work-life balance, because they are not doing it the right way. So today, I will be telling you more about how to do it right. So if you work remotely, you should, if that company has lots of meetings, tell them this is not the right way, because they should have asynchronous communication tools in place, less meetings, instant messaging, and continuous feedback. So if they have a feedback system that goes like a yearly, let's say, appraisals or yearly feedback talks, that's not the way. It should be ongoing. Everyone has to know their goals, targets, and it has to be ongoing. So whenever something happens, you need to get feedback and give feedback on an ongoing basis. You shouldn't be waiting for another 3 months. Like one of the companies, they were just like, feeling happy and proud about like having a feedback system that was like every 3 months. And I said, what? I mean, every 3 months, the world is changing. I mean, 3 months is huge time. Now it has to be like hours, like at the same time, on demand. So why do we have like, on demand training? Because like people want it that now. Everyone wants it now. You cannot wait for 2 days, 3 months. So in a solid remote work company, you should be seeing all of this. And so the advantages and disadvantages, I'll be brief about this. With the advantages of remote working, of course, for like everything else, I mean, there are pros and cons to remote working too. So you can design your own schedule. As long as you get things done, you will spend less time in traffic, which is my favorite. Given the fact that I'm living in Istanbul, with the most awful, I would say, traffic in the world. Not most, of course, but like one of the worst. Let me say.
Not the absolute
You will
worst,
spend less.
it's high up
Yeah,
there.
exactly.
Indeed.
Yeah,
Indeed.
I would say maybe in top 10 we would make it in that top 10 list. So you will spend less. This is like the feedback that I have been hearing from the remote working people, because you don't need to buy like more clothes, or just like, even like with women, I've been hearing that they don't even buy makeup materials as often. So you will spend more time with your loved ones and yourself, of course, because you get to spend that time that you spend normally in commute or like in office with the things that you would like to do. You will have less stress. This is proven by research that remote working people have less stress. You will be healthier. This depends on you. So you can be healthier or less healthier. So it's again about how to do things right. If you sit down all day without like doing any exercise, without even taking breaks, then you won't be, of course, healthier. But I would advise you to do walking meetings. So if you have a meeting, you don't have to put your camera on if it's not like for the first time or it doesn't require any interaction. Do walking meetings. There are like applications which are really good to support that as well. And do get yourself time for lunch or coffee breaks, tea breaks. Don't like schedule back-to-back meetings. Just like try to have as less meetings as possible. Like keep them at minimum, and just like give yourself those deep work slots, time boxing, so that you can focus yourself, be more productive, get more things done in that specific time period. And you'll have, of course, freedom to travel and work. You'll be location independent as long as you are in line with the company policy. Some companies allow that, some companies don't. So it's good to check that before you start working for that company, if they allow it or not. And you won't have office politics. So if you just like if you don't like one person, once you just like shut your laptop off, you're off. So you don't get to see that person in the elevator and need to do office politics. So that's an advantage too. But there are, of course, okay, so by the way, there's a question before we enter more in the session. Do you think as an entry-level developer actually is better to work full remote in the beginning, or is the hybrid mode if company actually based in near your location? Okay, so I mean, it depends. Like, I'm a strong supporter of remote work, but it depends on the culture of the company, how ready the company is for remote work, and how they are going to support you with those readiness, and how you can just like interact with people. So having said that, so if you think that the company has been working remotely, they have a culture in place, they have the policies in place, so they can accommodate everything remotely, then you can work. So I mean, it does not matter if you're like at the entry level or like at an expert level. But there are sometimes companies who are not putting in place these remote working policies or like the capabilities. They don't have the digital tools, so you might struggle then. So that's why it's really important to check with the existing employees, or like to check like any recommendations about the company, if they have everything in place. And when you're doing the job interview, ask for those. If they offer you like a fully remote job, ask them if they have like this, team meetings in place, if you can be interactive with people on your team. Like, ask about the culture, if the culture is in line with that. If yes, the answer is yes, then you can just like, you can be comfortable about that. But it also depends on how you function. Like, when I am talking about remote work in communities, sometimes people tell me, I cannot really work remotely, like, or let me say from home, because like I have so many distractions, which is like, one of the sorry for that, which is one of the disadvantages. You need to manage those distractions. So if you think you're a person who cannot manage distractions, then you would ask that company if they have like a dedicated office or like a place, the co-working space, which they can just like, give that to you. So it depends on how you feel most productive. So if you think that you are okay with managing yourself, because then you need to connect with your team members too. But in order to connect with your team members, the company has to give you those digital digital tools, the communication tools? Do they have like Slack or any instant messaging tools? Do they do like the stand-up meetings every day so that you can stay in contact with your team members? Do they do company retreats or company gatherings? Do they do like all hands where you can just like learn more about the situation in the company? Do ask these questions to when you're having the interview. If you're comfortable with the answers, you can go ahead and work remotely for that company. But if you're not sure, then you can ask for a hybrid. The most important thing is, I mean, always remember this, is about flexibility. So this new way of working is about flexibility. So if they are giving flexibility to work like wherever you want, whenever you want, then that's the thing that you should be looking for. And it's the flexibility of the mindset too. And you would understand it from the interview. Make sure that the mindset is flexible so that they are not just like going to be micromanaging you or just like, you know, putting extra work, overloading you. So those are the things that's really important. By the way, to support the advantages of remote working, I just like put this is like from the engineer report, remote work engineers. They're really happier. Like they say that it's remote work reduces their work-life conflicts. It's making them happier. This was like a survey done with, only with the engineers. So engineers are definitely by far the happiest in this community. And there's one, what's happening? Is it clicking? And this is another cool fact. So the remote working people, they are making annually, on average, they're making $4,000 more when compared to traditional. And this is like for the engineers, is even more because you have the option to work globally. It's like, you know, you can just like work from anywhere and your capabilities, your skills are in high demand. At the moment, the jobs, you know, there's so many jobs that the talent, there's a skill gap, there's a talent gap, and companies cannot find that enough talent. So they're paying because there's scarcity in talent, then talent gets to get paid more. And the remote workers, why do they get paid more? Because they are just like preferring to, so remote work is more in demand. So to get those people, they are just like, you know, paying more because like then they're more valuable, let me say, because all the other traditional companies, that's what I'm telling them. If you are not going into this direction, if you're not going remote first, if you're not going remote, then you'll be just like, you know, you have to settle with the people who are left because others are going to be going to the remote jobs. And of course, these are like the disadvantages, like everything else in life, there are disadvantages, but it's only a matter of how to manage them. So if you can manage them well, then you can just like turn these into advantages too. Yes, you may feel lonely, but on the other side, on the bright side, this is what I'm saying, you don't have to get socialized with your, let's say, colleagues. You can then just like, if you choose to, then you can of course socialize with them. But if you choose to socialize with your like other friends, then you'll have more time for those people. Or like if you need to connect with your team members, you need to find that way to connect with them. Maybe you are going to just like make over communication with them. And like in my case, like I have friends, if I were to decide to go on a world tour, I would have like a friend to stay at in each country because like I have now this range of friends from like range of countries. So it's really nice to work in a fully distributed, fully remote company where you have people from all over the globe and learn to disconnect. I mean, this is really, it can lead to burnout, especially when you first started. Please put like those time slots, do time boxing, to control how you work, because like it's the tendency to work all the time because you can keep yourself connected all the time because you have your phone. Put notifications off, really. Put notifications off when you're not working, and you need to disconnect. Otherwise, before you know, you'll go burnout. And I know this from experience. I'm talking from experience because this is, I mean, in a hard way, if you check my social media accounts, if you check the running remote social media accounts, you would see that, because last week they interviewed me, and that was one tip that I gave. They asked me like, what would you do differently? Or how would remote work be better if you knew something before? And I said, how to disconnect. Because I was like thinking, okay, I can do workationing, I can just like work and vacation at the same time. Yes, you can do that, but make sure that there are those times where you're just like disconnecting fully. And like for me, for the last 3 years, this is what I do. I, of course, like after managing my cash flow for during July and August, I'm dimming my work. And so I'm only accepting meetings from 9 to 12. And after, in the afternoon times, I'm not working at all, spending time with my kids, going to beach, just like relaxing, and don't check anything at all, nothing, no emails, no messages, nothing. So learn to disconnect. That's really hard to learn, but do practice it. Okay, so what do you need to be a successful remote worker? Of course, on the infrastructure side, a laptop, stable, high-speed internet connection, so you can use like either public spaces, a dedicated workspace. This does not necessarily have to be a room or like like an office, work from home office, but like a table, some place, even like not the whole table, even just like if you know that this end of the table is your office space, so that when you wake up, you can go to that place and just like, you know, put your laptop and be just like, you know, focusing on your work. Because otherwise you'll be just like carrying your laptop all the time, and it's not ergonomic. So it's just like, you know, you'll feel tired, you'll feel demotivated at the end of the day, and you'll be just like, you know, crouching. So make sure that you have this dedicated place where you can just like, you know, have everything that you need when you're working. And skills, this is really important. It's important to have self-discipline, the planning skills, good planning skills, because you need to plan yourself. You need to plan your day. You need to plan your work. Good time management, good virtual communication skills. This one is really important, because it's actually, this is like a hard thing, because you'll be just like making written communication, and sometimes in written communication it may be challenging to tell what you're trying to tell to the others. Use emojis, because it's going to tell how you're really feeling. It's going to just, you know, make them understand your real feeling, because sometimes people can get things wrong, especially in fully distributed companies, because you will have the language barrier. It's not your native language. So make sure that you're using emojis, you are being over communicative, trying to tell what you're trying to deliver to the other person. Have flexibility, have a flexible mindset, and just improve your English for global opportunities, because sometimes that's a barrier too, because they sometimes take you through English competency tests. And even if you're working like a client or like a company, it's really important that you have like a fluent English where you can just like, you know, get into a conversation. So there are two types of remote working. When you start looking for jobs, you will see that you can either be an independent contractor, IC, or an employee. And what's the difference? So both are okay, by the way. It's not like a good or bad thing, but you have to know the differences, so that when you are deciding, so when someone tells you, you know, this is an IC job or like an employee job, you know what the difference is. So with being when you are an independent contractor, it's not like an employee relationship. You either get a fixed rate or like an hourly. Sometimes it's like an hourly thing, so you have an hourly rate, you get paid on the logged hours. It doesn't have a long notice period, just like being like an employee. So it's not, no probation periods, nothing. And you have to manage your tax and invoicing. So when you are an IC, you either need to, sometimes companies need you to generate invoices, and you need to pay your taxes. So if they don't pay your taxes, you may get into trouble. This is really important with this. So be sure in whichever country you are, be sure to check those tax compliance rules, so that you are just like, you know, filing your taxes and paying your taxes on time, because otherwise you might really need to you might really get into trouble. And wherever you are, location wise, please make sure to check the compliances for that specific country, because most of the countries, they ask you to pay your taxes if you are residing in that country. So if you become a resident in that country, make sure that you are following their tax rules. And this is more flexible, so you can end your contract. It's easier on both sides, but there's a downside to it too. So they can just like end your contract. And so it's not, since it's not like a long notice period, it may get you unemployed. So be sure to check those contracts before you sign it once you agree. And being an employee, you have an employee record just like a usual employee, but you're just like working remotely. So for those companies, it's usually, I mean, check their policies if they allow you to work from different countries, different locations, because usually they don't. Sometimes they do, and they are using companies like remote.com, Deal, who are giving service of employee records. So they're acting as your like local employer, so they can take care of those things. And with employee record, you get to have a social security. So those companies are also taking care of that. You have a probation period, and you don't get paid on hours. So it's just like a regular payment, no matter how much you work, how much you don't work, you just like get paid as an employee. And also on top of that, there are, so usually employees get more perks and benefits, but it is also the case with these remote companies that they also get those benefits and perks to their independent contractors as well, if it's like a long-term contract. So if there's no end period to that contract. But it's important that you check all these details when you are negotiating before you sign the contract, before you start your employment with your employer. So make sure that you are asking this if you are going to be an IC or like an employee, if you are going to have these perks and benefits, so that there are no surprises along the way. Watch out for these red flags. This is also by experience. If they have strict surveillance, some companies, although this is against the European law and many ICs are filing disputes against these companies, but they still do. If they have strict surveillance, which I mean is just like screen recording, webcam recording, just like monitoring everything, all the keystrokes, just stay away from those companies. They're just like red flag. Yes, they will pay you much more than the others, but at the end, you will regret it. I mean, you can try, but you will regret it because they are not going to give you peace of mind. So, I mean, it's always, I mean, prioritize your, just like, well-being, and that's just like stay away from those companies. And also with no or less reputation, you can check them on Glassdoor. I'm not sure if you know Glassdoor, but you can go on Glassdoor, just like look up for that company. There are going to be several different kinds of ratings for the company. Just check one, the rating, the overall rating, and two, the CEO, the recommendation about the CEO. Just read about those recommendations. What do they tell you about the CEO? That's going to give you an idea about the management team, how the company is being managed, what the culture is about. And read everything, even the pros and the cons about the company, because they are just like, the transparent reviews about that company. So you will see if there are any things, that you need to be aware of before you start your experience with that company. Also micromanagement, you can also read this from the reviews, because micromanagement is going to kill you in remote work. And low rates, sometimes they just like tell you that, okay, I mean, you can work and we are giving you this remote work option, which they sound like, they are giving away something really like a benefit, but at the same time, they want you to compromise from your rate. Don't do it, because you will definitely find those other remote opportunities with a decent rate. And overworking. This you can also just like check with the employees and to see how the workload is, because at the end it's going to kill you and it's not going to be sustainable. Okay, so these are the most popular jobs and that you would see. My recommendation is keep an eye on. I will be showing you some job listing platforms. Keep an eye on those jobs. See what's being posted the most. So like if you are seeing a specific role being posted all the time, make sure that you are upskilling yourself in that specific job so that you are building more capabilities, because it's going to increase the probability of finding a job. So copywriters, front-end developers, DevOps leads, product owners, technical recruiters, full-stack developers, web designers, site reliability engineers. Cloud, as I said, is on the rise. So if you're interested, I would advise you really to just like have a look at the cloud technologies. Amazon, I mean, if you just like create a profile at Amazon, they also have like free trainings. You can just like, check the cloud training. So it's really and I mean, if you just like Google it, you will see that there's a huge cloud skill gap. So you can just like see that like DevOps or site reliability now are just like on the rise. So make sure that you are just like reskilling or upskilling. If you have skills, you can just like, upskill yourself to be able to apply to those jobs. And these are, I just like put these as most popular remote work digital tools. It's good for you to know these, get familiar with these, because they will ask for this during the interview. If you have any, familiarity with these tools, if you're familiar, if you're comfortable using them, and if you even pass the interview saying yes, you will be immersed in these and you'll need to use them all the time. So make sure that these are like the most popular ones. There are all the other ones, but like with Zoom, Google Drive, Slack, Notion, Trello, Asana, Loom, and virtual office solutions, please make sure that you are just like familiar. Like Loom is video communication, video messaging. You just like, video yourself, deliver your message, send it to your team member. They just like reply to you with a video message. So these are like, the life hacks in a remote work environment. So make sure that you are just like, you can Google and see like what other digital tools are in the space, but these are like the top ones. I mean, without these, most of these remote work companies are using these. Without these, it would be challenging. So it would take you some more time to get, adjusted to your job. So make sure that you are familiar with these tools. Okay, so by the way, I will share a Google Sheet with you that has not all, but like my companies, my loved companies, the listing. So these are only like the ones that I wanted to feature, but on that list, you will find everything. And I'm just like updating that list as I see more companies joining. So you can just like, if you are looking for a job and want to see like what the other options are, you can just like, create RSS feeds. You can just like, put yourself in the talent pool. So Hotjar is my favorite. They're based in Malta. With European time zone. And TopTal, they are a talent marketplace. Crossover and TopTal, they're both talent marketplaces. So you just like and enter into their talent marketplace. And once they have a job that fits you, then they get you matched with that job. Buffer is, again, I don't know if you know, Buffer is just like an automation tool for social media. They are one of my favorite companies, remote work companies. Automatic, this is WordPress main company. And they are just like, really like posting all the time, new jobs. GitLab is dear to my heart. They literally wrote the book of remote work. Darren Murph, their head of remote. They're well known for their remote work policies. You can just like, it's public. So you can go and check their remote work policy, how they are just like, making it work. And they have like numbers and numbers of engineering jobs, technical jobs. So please make sure that you are keeping an eye on it, because they keep updating it and they have like all the options. Mural, amazing culture. Zapier and Mural, they have an amazing culture, remote work culture. They do retreats and they really are doing it the right way. So I would also advise those two companies. Intuit is the main company for MailChimp. So, and they are really doing it the right way. So these are my like tops, but like you, as I said, you will find more companies on the sheet that I shared, so that you can just like go on to their career page. Make sure that you are just like either, even if they don't have it, some companies say, okay, you can just like, you know, do general application, get in our talent pool, and we will notify you whenever there's a fit. Make sure that you complete those steps so that you land on their talent pool. And these are some remote work listing websites. So when you go there, and let's try one. I like really we work remotely. Okay, so like, let's say there are different categories. Let's say you are like full stack programming. So here, as you can see, you can just like create this feed, and you can just like, you know, change after that. You can change the cadence. There you can just like see all the options. So my tip for you is go to these job posts and see what skills, what qualifications, what preferred qualifications that they are looking for. And so that you can just like work on those skills, on those qualifications. But with all of these, just like fine tune what you're looking for. And like here you can see all the options. Write your email and get those feeds every day in your inbox so that you can keep close eye on those opportunities. I will also, on that list, on the Google Sheet, I also have these listed companies. So to do like, so how can you win jobs? So these are my recommendation. Identify your keywords, just as I said. I mean, look at those job ads. What are your keywords? What are your skills that you can put on your profile so that it matches? Look at get recommendations if you had past clients or if you have past colleagues. Get recommendations. So whatever, like even from the academy, Social Hackers Academy, like get recommendations from them and put it there, because it's always nice to show credibility. Gain expertise with digital tools that I shared, and write a cover letter, which I will show now. This is from this is like a cover letter I prepared for remote. Okay, so this is like, cover letters are really important because they're personal, and these hiring teams, they really value these cover letters. When you are starting it, make sure that you are mentioning the role so that they see that this is not like something like an automatic, like a template. This is like a personalized, customized cover letter. And talk about your strengths. What does it make you good for this role? So what makes you different than all the others who apply? So your reason to believe, what's your personal brand's reason to believe? Why should they get you? And talk about your skills too, not only the experience, but the skills. And then how you can add value. They need to know. So yes, they of course care about your skills and experience, but the most that they care about is how you can add value to their company. What can you do differently than the existing people or the other candidates that's going to help them? And also propose a next step, because it's always nice to give a call to action. Like, I'd be happy to have a call with you. Why don't we set up a call? Why don't we get on a chat? So just like finding that right click to action. And one more tip, if you find this on LinkedIn, if you see the job poster, go and just like get connected with that person so that you can just like also mention that you applied for that job and you're really interested. And also about the skills, as I said, like your both technical and soft skills, just make sure that you are meeting all those requirements on those job ads. Not like all, but like most. And you would see that there's going to be a pattern in the requirements and like the technical skills or like the soft skills that those remote companies are looking for. So WizLabs, Coursera, CloudGuru, there are many, but these are like the ones that I am using and recommending the most. So if you go on these platforms to just like, you know, upskill yourself or just like, you know, meet the requirements on those job ads, it's really going to put you like on top of their list. Okay, so that's my last remark. I mean, change totally change the way you work. It's not about only like working remotely, but it's about how you do your work. So with these tips and tricks, you can just like, rewind and just like, change the way how you work. And this is my contact details. So if you want to ask anything else regarding your, job application, if you find something and see that I'm connected to that company, please do reach out to me. All the remote companies, I'm usually, familiar with their hiring team, so I can get you matched with them. And so if you see anything on Vertisant, I'd be happy to refer you and put there on the reference list. And my LinkedIn is mine.dedekoca. So you can add me on LinkedIn too. We can get connected. And this is my phone number. You can just like WhatsApp me if you have any questions. Okay, so.
Excellent, Mine. Thank you so much for the presentation.
I'm checking time too at the same time. Okay, we have like 7 minutes.
We have like 7 minutes. I have like 1 trillion questions.
Okay.
Let's start for one, I think for the audience. What is time boxing? You mentioned it quite a lot. What do you mean by time boxing?
So it's a technique. And so what you do is you identify let's say what you need to do. Check emails, for example, and you dedicate a certain time slot for checking emails. And during that time slot, you don't do anything else. It's only checking emails. And on your schedule, you just create those slots and assign those tasks to those time slots so that you don't jump from one to the other all the time. Because our brain, they used to tell us that multitasking is a good thing. Multitasking is a good thing if you're not doing it at the same time. So it's good to have different capabilities as long as you're not doing it at the right, at the same time. So time boxing allows that, because our brain just like, gets burned out if you just like try focusing on different things at the same time. So jumping from one tab to the other, opening all the tabs, which is what we keep doing. But time boxing just like keeps you in that box.
Yes, I've been doing this for quite some time. How do you propose like someone say this to his team? Like, do you need to communicate this? Do they need to understand that you're using this technique, or you think it's okay to do it yourself?
As I said, everyone has their own rhythm, and like, so one thing may work for some and may not work for the others. They have to find what's working for them. Like, I'm also using deep work. What deep work is, and let me just like put here the book and the author, Cal Newport, and the book is Deep Work, so you can read it. It's really just like, tells how our brain is functioning, how we can just like, work more productively. And what he says is that you need to go into deep work, because otherwise you're never into deep work. You're always on the shallow work, and your brain is just like jumping from the one from the other. And whenever you jump from one to the other, he says that there's this something called attention residue, because your attention is just like, you have this residue from the previous thing, so you're never there or here. You're always in limbo. So you're just not even getting into that deep work.
If our attendants, participants have any questions, please put them. It seems like the chat is working, or the Q&A, it's almost the same thing. So let us know if you have any questions. You mentioned that managers are afraid of remote work, and you mentioned trust issues, which is very interesting for me. Do you think it's like their fault? So, like, is it that they lack the systems to monitor the progress? What do you think is a solution to, okay, trust issues are not going to go away, but what is the solution to helping them be more trustful? I don't know how to call it.
To build OKRs. So if every team has an OKR, and just like if they're transparent, and the thing is, it should not come from top to down. So they should be just like handshaking on the OKRs. Yes, there has to be like one objective at the top and should be just like, waterfalling, but everyone has to be in line with those OKRs, aligned around those OKRs. So everyone knows what they need to deliver at the end of the week. If they have a blocker, they need to communicate it back to the manager or back to the teammates. So asking for those, for their help to overcome those blockers. If that works seamlessly, I mean, I can assure you that, so if you have like an underperformer, then he's going to be just like, come out and say, I cannot do it. Because I mean, how many times can you just like, go by that?
Yeah.
1 week, 2 weeks, after some time, it shows.
People will know for sure.
Yeah.
So
we have someone who raised a hand, and we have
yes,
one comment in the chat.
From Henry. Henry, I'm allowing you to talk. I assume this is what you wanted to do. So
yes,
you can open your mic. Yes.
Yes, I did that. Thank you so much. So I just have a quick question. How do you manage managers or companies that abuse the work from home? So this is what I meant. I happen to work in a particular organization that work from home. We're meant to close for 5 o'clock, but they extend the time. They want you to work more hours, like work till 11 o'clock. So how do you manage that? Do you go with the flow, or do you look for other companies to work with?
I couldn't get the last part. Can you just like repeat the last part?
The last part is, do you go with what they want, because they are abusing the work from home?
Your microphone has, I don't know, can you maybe pull it a bit further from your mouth, because we cannot hear you.
Is it much better now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, it's much better.
Okay, so this is what I'm saying. So how do you manage managers or institutions that allow you work more than the hours you're supposed to work from home? So this is what I meant. I've happened to work in an organization where we're meant to close for 5 o'clock, but they allow you to work more than 5 o'clock. So how do you cope with those scenarios?
Okay, so this is what I'm telling those companies, and this is why it's really important that we talk about productivity, because that's why I wanted to mention that, because usually what companies think as productive is working more hours, which is actually the reverse, and you shouldn't be. So this is what I'm just like telling those companies, and usually I make them like monitor the hours that their employees are working totally. And like with really the remote work companies who are doing it the right way, they don't allow you to send messages during your off hours, and they just like red flag you. They tell you no, you're not supposed to be working. And they're just like, if the culture is really strong with that idea, that, I mean, if it embraces it, then you have role models, and you have people are just like, raising concerns about that, because they're comfortable. They have the psychological safety to raise concerns that whenever they see it, they say, no, you're not supposed to just like send messages. Some companies, even they just like shut their servers off, not allowing the messages or the emails to go through.
All right, Henry, hope your answer
yes,
satisfied you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Maybe you have 2 minutes for the last question.
Yes, sure. What would be some red flags for an employer? What not to do? Okay, for the employee, yeah. Okay, don't micromanage people. Just have your OKRs really, transparent. I mean, be transparent with people. So let people know what they need to deliver and when to deliver, so that you don't need to micromanage, so that you don't care where they're working from, if they're lying on the couch or just like working from the toilet. So it doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter. And everyone has their own body rhythms. Some people, they're morning people. Some people, they're night owls. And as long as it does not interfere with team meetings, so that's an important thing too. When you have like a company-wide, let's say a meeting, or when you are just like, having team meetings, make sure that everyone knows about the timings of those meetings. Make sure that if you're like a fully distributed company, make sure that it's in line with everyone's time zones, so that everyone can be present during those meetings. But otherwise, let people be flexible, work whenever, wherever they want.
What's your favorite app to manage OKRs? Do you recommend a specific one? Have it on a Word document?
For what? For which?
For managing OKRs and the tasks under the objectives. Do you propose a specific software? Is there a best system or a resource you could share about OKRs?
Yeah, like Workday, I think is like, and most companies, even the big corporates, are using Workday. But like locally, I have two like smaller companies, but they're doing really great with keeping up with the OKRs. One is Norway, but I think Workday is really smooth. You don't even need an app. You can even have a Google Sheet. When I was the country manager for Crossover, we used to have like a Google Sheet. Everyone knew their OKRs. And we were updating it with our results. So it wasn't even automated. Yeah. So you can start from there. I mean, you can start from having a Google Sheet, just write your OKRs, just like, and divide them into, so what I suggest doing is do OKRs for every 3 months. So for every 3 months, define objectives, not more than 3, because it then gets complicated. Have those objectives, 3 objectives per 3 months, and then have your key results. And so have each team have design their key results. And once they reach it, if they cannot reach it, because they will need to record also the results at the end of the week, then they will need to explain why they could not reach it, and also come up with plans about how to reach it. So it's just like, then it's kind of like a self-teaching exercise too. Because it shows you your performance, your performance, and then you need to come up with solutions to overcome those challenges. So it becomes like a self-paced, self-managed process. People, we are adults, but we've been treated like children all throughout these years. Now it is the pain to just like go from teenager to being an adult. That's what we are experiencing.
Yeah, it's hard to take ownership of your life.
Exactly.
Your work. It's challenging.
I mean, you have to, all of a sudden they tell you to manage everything by yourself. I mean, think about it. It's hard.
Mine, thank you so very much for your time today, for your positive energy, your attitude. You are a huge advocate of remote work. I love remote work for 8 years now. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you. It was really a pleasure. So thank you so much. As I said, you can just like reach out to me anything that you would like to ask. So have a great evening, let me say.
Thank you, everyone.
For any remote jobs, reach out to me.